For years, Paola and I have felt most at home in the middle of nowhere, and few places on Earth are as isolated as this. This is our backcountry trip to Denali. The Denali Wilderness encompasses more than 6 million acres, making it larger than the state of New Hampshire. 2.1 million of those acres are federally designated wilderness, meaning they are completely left to the whims of nature. To tackle a location like this with animals that can kill you, you're going to need the right gear. The gear list starts with a backpack. This is how we'll carry everything we need to survive. A water filter is an absolute necessity. Water is heavy, so to shave off weight, we'll filter water from streams as we go. Mosquito netting helps to keep away the swarms of insects. A lightweight stove, fuel, and freeze-dried meals will provide us just enough calories to manage the grueling hikes ahead of us. A tent, bedding, compass, maps, water-resistant clothes, and a stop at an outfitter for the things we can't fly with, like fuel and bear spray. Now we have everything we need to head into the vast wilderness. But not before a stop for lattes and a bite to eat at the Black Bear Coffee House. After getting our orientation from a park ranger, we loaded into a bus and began the 5-hour drive nearly 100 miles down the gravel Denali Highway, where they would drop us off and we would start our trek into the breathtaking Denali Wilderness. Along the way, we spotted a grizzly bear. This was the first grizzly we had ever seen in the wild, and it was striking how much bigger grizzlies are compared to black bears. We had a special sighting of a bull moose with his cow bedded down in the vegetation. And a short time later, we saw 2 more bull moose, likely sizing up their competition for the upcoming rut season. The bus ride offered incredible views of mountains, rivers, and even a view of some Dall sheep. Our hiking route would begin at the last stop, so we rode the bus to the very end, got off, cooked some creamy chicken pasta for dinner, and hiked about 1.5 miles to our first camp location. That short hike took us 1.5 hours because of the extremely challenging terrain. So this is our first campsite. We got in bed about 11 o'clock. We got to a campsite at Wonder Lake down there at about 9 o'clock last night. Stopped and ate dinner and then hiked up here. By the time we got everything set up and we're in bed, it was about 11:15, and there was still light. So that was pretty cool. And you can't see it right now, but there's actually a really good view that way. We saw it last night. We had to set up our camp to where our tent is here and our food was like 100 yards that way so that our food wouldn't attract bears. So I'm about to make some coffee and we'll get things packed up and start headed to our next direction, which will be a little bit of a challenge with this visibility, but we'll do our best. Everything is wet right now. My boots are soaked, my pants are soaked, my socks are soaked. At least my top half is relatively dry. So what we use to get to our campsite is a bunch of little things like this, which is hard to see, but you can kind of see a little trail going through there. It's called a social trail. And what that means is that it's not an actual trail. It's not recognized on the map as a trail, but it is created socially by people walking over it. You can kind of see there's a little bit of that here, and there's one that goes over through there and goes down to the lake there. And those social trails are a lifesaver when you're going through all that thick stuff over there. Because we came up through there over that direction. And that stuff is thick. And finding those social trails is super helpful. It was getting dark and kind of foggy by the time we got up here, and so we were having a hard time figuring out exactly where we were supposed to be, but he said we were supposed to be by a lake. And so we found that lake and we're like, maybe this is the one, because it was too foggy to get our bearings to determine anything else. And there's so many lakes we weren't really sure. But I think the lake he was suggesting that we stay at is over past this way. The reason I say that is because he told us to look for something that we never actually saw. We thought we just missed it. Let me zoom in up here. That little roof there is like a water collection thing. I don't think it's in service anymore, but we were supposed to go past that. And so I think the lake we were supposed to be at is somewhere up there. So we're gonna try to find that. And then on the other side of this ridge is a creek that is safe for drinking water. We'll get some water, filter it through, fill up our bladder with unfiltered water so we can filter that into our bottle as we go. All right, this is a better example of a social trail. This one's really well defined, but a bunch of the ones we've taken are not. This one's nice because it's super well defined. You can see where it's going a good ways up. And thankful for this one because we just went through some nasty stuff and my boots are now full of water. Not from walking in water, but because of all the dew on the plants. Like, so much dew. The view up here is incredible. When they say bushwhacking, this is what they mean. It's pretty thick.
Believe it or not, what the video shows is some of the easiest bushwhacking we experienced. The real challenge was going through the alders. I wasn't able to capture that because it required both hands to push through the dense alder brush. We would end up hiking through a whole lot of alder brush, which proved to be extremely exhausting and made for very slow progress. If it wasn't alders, it was soggy, mossy ground that soaked our feet as they sank 6 to 8 inches every single step.
Pretty lake. So we're gonna go up over that direction, see if we can see the second bluff. And in between this bluff and the second one, there's a creek that's good for water. So some of the creeks around here you can't drink from because they there's old mining, like old mines around, and they've been contaminated with heavy metals. And so they gave us a list of which ones to not drink from that I lost, but I have pictures of, along with all of our maps. But I have pictures of it, okay, along with all of our maps. But I took pictures of all that as well, so
the
we're
main
good.
One not to drink,
oh, mosquito.
Moose Creek.
It's the first mosquito I've seen. He's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moose Creek's the main one.
I heard someone say the mosquitoes are the size of birds.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Here you see the most bizarre landscape I've ever experienced. Through the binoculars, this area looked like easy, grassy hiking. But once we got there, we found it was miles of walking through grassy clumps of dirt that would roll if you stepped on them. They actually reminded us of the trolls in the movie Frozen. To avoid ankle injuries, we had to step between them, resulting in having to lift our legs a foot high every step we took, and carefully testing each step in the soggy, wet ground between the unstable lumps.
So we just had a late lunch. It's probably, I think it's around 2 o'clock. And the views are pretty incredible from up here. Took us a minute to figure out where the heck we actually were because there's 2 hills right next to each other. We weren't sure, which one is which. which one we were on, but we figured it out.
After the trip, I realized why getting my bearings was so difficult. I forgot about magnetic declination. Magnetic declination is the angle on the horizontal plane between magnetic north and true north. This angle varies depending on position on the Earth's surface and changes over time. In layman's terms, this means your compass points to magnetic north, not true north. Since we were only a few thousand miles from magnetic north, our compass was off by 15 degrees. You can see how significant that is on this declination calculator. Straight up is true north, and the compass rose is pointing to magnetic north. Noted for next time.
We're, I think, somewhere around 4,000 feet right now, up from 2, so we've made a decent climb. There's a little lake over there. There's these little lakes everywhere. From right here, I counted somewhere around 20 lakes just within like a 20-degree, like, little, like, perspective. Paola made lunch. We had chicken and rice.
It was like a Mexican adobe lime cilantro.
Like an adobo or adobe, yeah. Adobe chicken and rice. It was really good.
So
The chicken Alfredo was better yesterday.
Cool solar panel.
Oh yeah. We've got our solar panel to charge our devices. And it works. It's a little slow, but it does work. Mine wouldn't charge because my port on my phone is wet like everything else on my body. We got bear spray. It goes in a little holster, and I clip it up next to my shoulder. She tends to clip it a little closer to her waist. But
yeah, it worked really well when we were on like real clear land, but we were going through shrubs, and you'd have to like bring your knees real high, and then it got annoying. I would get hit.
Yeah. Somewhere over, so there's that little jut out in the river there. So that's the McKinley River. There's that little land jut, and a little bit to the right, somewhere back there behind the clouds, is where Denali is. But it's not quite clear enough to see it. And then over here, this direction, if we zoom in real far, that white right there is glacier. It's a big glacier, and it's what feeds the McKinley River, which is why the McKinley River is so high right now and why we're not on that side of the river, because it is impassable right now. It doesn't look so bad, but apparently the other day a guy tried to cross it, and none of the park rangers have tried because it's so high. And a guy tried to cross it, and the ranger said that he came back covered head to toe in silt. And did not successfully get across.
Quicksand-ish.
Yeah, he said it was like quicksand. So we were told that, and we had originally applied for a permit for units over there, but they said, you know, it's kind of dangerous to cross right now, and if the glacier surges while you're crossing, it could be deadly. So we'd recommend changing your units. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good recommendation. Let's change. So we're over here. We're in unit 15 right now. We're on to 43, which is somewhere on the other side of that hill. Then we'll cross a road. We'll follow an old mining road tomorrow, and that'll be a lot easier hiking. And that'll take us up over into, I believe, those mountains that direction. And we'll kind of circle around that way and come down there. So we have not made a lot of progress today because it has been like ridiculous bushwhacking. And she's got a handful of blueberries.
They're everywhere.
Wow.
Like, there's...
How are they?
Very good. They taste different from the ones back home, but they're very good.
They're a little sour because they're small, but some of the big ones are really, really sweet.
I find them like earthier. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but
I think that's a good description.
I mentioned units. The park is divided into large units that you choose when you apply for your backcountry permit. These units are quite large, which you can see by these squares, which indicate square miles. The units we were staying in ranged from 30 to 70 square miles. Our permit included units 15, 43, 42, and 36, a different unit each night.
Mosquitoes have gotten pretty bad, and so we decided to put on our mosquito netting. Our next point is up this hill behind me, and from there we should be able to get another bearing and find whatever the name of the mountain is that we're going up next.
Busia or something.
Busia, I think, something like that.
You said Buska.
Yeah, I think it is Busia. So behind me is Wonder Lake, which might mean I'm not as far as I thought I am. I'm about to figure that out. I could still be as far as I thought I was, but I thought I was a little bit closer to that part of the lake there than what I am. So it's not a huge difference. It just might mean I've got about a mile further to go than I thought I would. But that's okay. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you some more views of this lake, because it's really, really pretty. Hopefully the camera does it justice. Okay, so I am not as far as I thought I was. That seems to be a theme on this hike. It feels like you've gone really far, but you haven't. And so that's different than like hiking on trails. Hiking on trails, I feel like I've got a good idea of like how far I'm walking, but it is, what time is it? It is 4:43, and we're still not into the next unit. To be fair though, we started at like 11 a.m. So we've only been going for a little while, but we got a little ways to go. I think over there. Where are we? Kind of that area there, I think is where we're going. But maybe a smidge farther. We'll see once we get over to that part. Okay, so it finally cleared up enough to see Denali. It was supposed to rain all day today. It didn't rain at all. We woke up this morning and couldn't see further than maybe 50 feet. And it has gotten so clear that now we can actually see Denali. Where is it? There it is. It's crazy. Just beautiful. I'm gonna try to make this demonstrate the scale of the mountain that is in front of me right now. So these mountains over here are somewhere around 4,000 feet. I don't think they're more than 5,000 right there. And then you come over here and basically you double in height up to that little spot right there. Or more.
2.5 at least.
And then it keeps going into the clouds. That may be half the height of the mountain. And like, my jaw dropped when Paula pointed out that we could see this right now. Like, it's been cloudy over there.
It didn't look real to me. Like I was like George. Like, do you see that?
Right.
Like, are those just funky looking clouds? Like, it's no.
She like pointed out. She's like, "Is that it?" And I'm like my jaw just dropped because it
We didn't
like
think it would go up that high.
land doesn't belong there.
We didn't think it would. It had the cloud cover, and we were trying to like guess how much higher it would be. We thought maybe these other mountains twice. like 4 times.
It's legitimately 4 to 5, 6 times the height of these other mountains down here, and like it's just massive.
And we don't see the tip of it.
Yeah, like this spot right there, that like real distinct thing, like right in the middle. I'll try to point to it there when my finger goes away. Right there. That is maybe halfway up. Maybe.
I've tried and failed to find the words to describe this mountain's majesty. I think it's best to let the mountain do the talking, and if you can, make sure you visit this place in your lifetime. In the next episode, we were forced to hike an extra 6 miles past our planned camp location, reaching the campground exhausted as a storm began to roll in. The weather in Denali is unpredictable, and being only 200 miles from the Arctic Circle means conditions can quickly become dangerous. We faced rain, freezing rain, and snow as we tried to make the best decisions to ensure our safety.